Happy Monday. Today we're talking all about what your LinkedIn Social Selling Index, SSI, score is and why it matters, even if you're not a salesperson. So, more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? My husband just had knee surgery, so we've been kind of hunkering down a bit more than normal to ensure he gets that appropriate recovery. We're both like these total gym rats. If you've ever seen us at the local YMCA, you would know us. And it's definitely been tough for him to stay home while I'm getting in all my training sessions. So I try to keep that on the down low, but all went well. So we're hopefully going to rehab him before heading back to Oahu for a midsummer surf trip. Fingers crossed that all goes well. So now it's time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on Monday afternoons, if you're based in the US, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I call the 3 Ps of LinkedIn. So, do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post, whether you're watching live or from the replay. Leave your questions below, and I will answer them either after the show or on a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. Most of the topics I talk about come from listener questions, just like today's topic. So, I'm really excited to talk about today's topic in a few minutes. So, what's the big deal with your social selling index? It's hard to say, social selling, the SSI score. If I'm not a salesperson, does it even matter? A lot of people don't even know that there's such a thing as a score. They're like, what? What's this score? I didn't even know it existed. LinkedIn doesn't broadcast it. It's not something that you can easily find, especially if you don't have a sales navigator account. So let me say, first of all, you do not need any type of paid LinkedIn account to see your SSI score. All right. So no matter what type of account you have, you will be able to see it. If you've been on LinkedIn for any length of time, you may have heard about this before, but sometimes only like the LinkedIn nerds or insiders know about it. So I'll refer to it as SSI moving forward, just for the sake of not getting tongue twisted along the way. So, since many people don't know that this even exists, what it is, how to use it, what it stands for, and how to know if they're improving on LinkedIn, most people never even know to check it. They don't know where to look to find it. So, what good is a score if you have no idea how to improve it? You have the choice, first of all, to ignore it. Like Mindy, I don't care about a score. If LinkedIn's giving me a score, I don't care. I don't want to know. Okay, cool. You can stop watching right now. Or what you can do is you can figure out, oh, there's a score. Okay, where should I check this? How often should I check this? What does this actually mean? Is it easy for me to get some actionable insights? Yes, it is. Spoiler alert, it is easy. And you can see everything at a glance. I'm going to share my screen. You'll get to see my score, what it currently is, so you will actually know where to find this. So if you've always wondered how well you're doing on LinkedIn, you will be excited to know that you do get a grade from LinkedIn. Yes, a grade. So let's get to the bottom of the SSI score today. If you've got this real time snapshot coming directly from LinkedIn, because that's what it is, it's something to at least be aware of and pay attention to if it makes sense for your objectives. So, hey there. For those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a group program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. We wrapped up the first cohort of 2023 not too long ago, but you can get on the summer waitlist. I will share the link at the end of this video so you will be the first to know. I help superstars who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact. In this live, we are going to talk about why ignoring your SSI score is costing you new business relationships, big one, right? New leads, and missing out on business opportunities, but how you can actually use your SSI score to improve your return on investment with LinkedIn. Exciting stuff, right? So stop wasting time doing what you hope works on LinkedIn. You need to know it's helping you reach your objectives. So go ahead and like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay, to give it some social love. All right, so is your SSI score a vanity metric? If you're anything like me, you may feel just a little bit skeptical when LinkedIn releases a new feature or tells you something about your LinkedIn profile. I track my own metrics using a tool called Shield, like a shield, shieldapp.ai. So that's a really cool tool. I'm not getting a kickback for saying this, but I love that tool. And that's what I use to track my personal metrics that I really, really care about. I also have my own spreadsheets for the good old fashioned tracking. I watch very particular and highly classified. Ha ha ha. Metrics to tell when my programs are working and not working. So I get it. Not everyone is as nerdy as I am when it comes to tracking their LinkedIn ROI. How nerdy are you? Do you pore over spreadsheets and analytics dashboards? Or you're like, Mindy, I'm not quite that nerdy unless it's directly related to my job. So, over the past couple of weeks, I've been giving a number of presentations around LinkedIn profile optimization to highly accomplished corporate professionals. And I had that aha moment when I was discussing which metrics mattered most when they were looking to polish up their LinkedIn profile and use LinkedIn appropriately. Someone actually asked about the SSI score and if that was a metric they should pay attention to. I actually paused. I was like, well, let me think about that for a moment. Are these executives ever going to dig into one of my nerdy spreadsheets? Probably not. Or do they have a monthly debrief with a LinkedIn specialist or consultant about how many one to one conversations they're having, how many views and impressions their articles and posts are getting, or how many conversations they've had with their ideal prospects and how their marketing efforts are doing? Probably not. They are not doing that on a regular basis. But what do they have time to do? They have time to check their SSI score for 60 seconds every so often just to see how they're doing. All they need to do is kind of bookmark that link so they don't forget where it is. So that's when it hit for me. The SSI score is really valuable for the everyday LinkedIn user. It's not just a vanity metric. If you know what all of the numbers mean, it's pretty straightforward what you need to do to improve on LinkedIn based on your score. So if you want to go deeper, you can shieldapp.ai. But if all you need is a general idea of how you're doing on LinkedIn, you'll get a nice hit of dopamine by checking your score for the most part, unless you haven't been on LinkedIn in ages, in which case you know that it's not going to be great. So, where do you actually find your SSI score? All right, so your SSI score, you're going to read the hyperlink linkedin.com backslash, I can never say that, sales slash SSI. Okay, linkedin.com slash sales slash SSI. That is where you can find your score. Okay, so it's very, very simple. Save it, bookmark it so you don't forget where it is. So if you're not going deep with your LinkedIn sales and marketing program, I can help you if you want to get nerdy. But the SSI score is something you should definitely check every month or so. So just every month, if you have like a task or a reminder system or a place where you put your to-dos, just put that link, linkedin.com slash sales slash SSI. Okay. Make sure to put that in a task and check it. Literally spend 60 seconds every single month just looking at it, and you will know if it's going up or down, staying the same, how well you are doing on LinkedIn. So if you notice that it's not going up or maintaining over time, then it is time to go deeper to figure out what's going on. So, all right, so it's time to bring up your score. If you're watching the replay or here with me live, type it into the browser, okay? So linkedin.com slash sales slash SSI. I'm going to share my screen so you can see my score. It's always fun when somebody shows theirs. You're like, oh, I want to see yours. So this is what it looks like. You can tell. That's it. Like there's nothing else to click on here. What you're seeing is exactly what the SSI score is. So you can see a lot of different numbers here. Okay. So a lot of different numbers. We're going to talk about what each of these numbers means, and we're going to go through them just kind of step by step by step. All right. So, number one, people in your team rank. So, this is only visible to those of you with a Sales Navigator account. Okay. So, if you don't have a Sales Navigator account, you may not see that. But basically, it's useful for those of you who are part of a Sales Navigator team subscription. So, if you're a salesperson and you have multiple salespeople connected through a team account, if you know what I'm talking about, then you're like, oh, I know what that means. Then this gamifies how you're doing compared to your teammates. So it can make for a little bit of fun if people on your team are not doing as well as you and you want to brag, you take a screenshot, say, look at me, I'm number one on the team. I'm doing well on LinkedIn. So it is not relevant to most of us, especially if you have a solo Sales Navigator account, which is what I have, and you won't even see it if you have a free account. Okay, so number two, industry SSI rank. Okay, so you can see that at the top. This is exactly what it appears to be. How do you rank against people in your industry. So LinkedIn looks at the industry you've marked on your LinkedIn profile and uses its fancy pantsy algorithm to determine where you stand in the industry. If you're in the top 1 to 5%, remember that number, 1 to 5%, top 1 to 5% for your industry, you are doing pretty well. Okay, so there's nothing too much, too crazy to pay attention to. To approve this score, you need to focus on the weakest components of your score. So if you're like, okay, Mindy, I need to get that industry SSI rank higher. I'd like to be a little bit higher in my industry. Then, where it says the 4 components of your score, which we'll talk about soon, you need to focus on those to get that number higher. Okay. So then let's talk about network SSI rank. So I'm in the top 2%. I used to be in the top 1%. And then I started adding all kinds of savvy LinkedIn people to my network. And so my rank dropped. Oh, sad face, right? So this is the ranking you have against all of the people in your LinkedIn network. So those first degree connections, people you've either accepted a connection request from or invited to join your network and they accepted. So if you have a network filled with LinkedIn power users, I have many more of them now than I used to, your score may not be as high as your industry average. Okay. So you can see I'm top 1% in the industry, but top 2% in the network SSI rank. If you're in the top 1 to 3% here, you're doing fine. Okay. So don't stress about it. It's not a number you need to freak out about. But to improve the score, you can either up your game on LinkedIn, paying attention to the 4 components of your score, or you can start disconnecting with all the LinkedIn power users and start connecting with LinkedIn newbies. Okay, sarcasm intended here. All right, so let's talk about the current social selling index. What are the 4 components of your score here? Here's what each of them means and how you can improve them. Okay, so establish your personal brand. What does that actually mean? LinkedIn is encouraging you to create an engaging LinkedIn profile. This is the cornerstone of your LinkedIn presence. Okay. So it's really, really important that your profile rocks, that it is solid, that you have established that brand. So you'll also need to regularly share posts to LinkedIn. That enhances your brand as well. I typically recommend starting with 1 post per week. That's it. 1 post per week. I know I have come across some people that told me they were supposed to be posting 3 times per day. And I'm like, 3 times per day? How can you say anything insightful 3 times per day? Unless you have a massive library of posts that you've done in the past or someone's writing them for you. 3 posts per day? Like, okay. You don't need to do that. 1 post per week will let LinkedIn know that you have established your brand and that you are active. Okay. Now let's talk about find the right people. So that is number 2. LinkedIn is a social networking platform and they want you to regularly connect with people for business purposes. So when you are regularly searching for people, you're inviting them to connect, you're also accepting other good connections into your network. This makes LinkedIn very, very happy. The algorithm loves you, okay? So even if you're not using LinkedIn specifically for sales, it's a really good best practice to continue growing your network. So you can see I could do a little bit better of a job. I'm not completely maxed out. And you know what I have done recently? I've actually started sending fewer requests, and some of the requests that I have been sending, like, they aren't the absolute best fit. So what this is telling me is like, hey, Mindy, the people you've been sending to recently, you need to up the quality. Like you need to vet them better. You need to approach them better because they are not all accepting. So that's an area of improvement for me. When I see that in my scores, like, you know what? There were people I was connecting with about 6 months ago, and my score was like 25 there. And I switched my list. I switched the people I was targeting. So that's something to really pay attention to if you are trying to grow a solid network. Look and see who you're sending to. Are people actually accepting your request? Okay. Engage with insights. You can see this is the lowest part of my score. It has dropped dramatically. So, what this actually means, you are doing that right now by watching this live stream. So, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, boom, you are engaging with insights. LinkedIn is very happy. This will boost your score. So when you watch live videos, when you engage with other people's posts, when you leave comments, when you mention people in the LinkedIn newsfeed, tagging is what that's called, LinkedIn notices. So the more you engage, the more highly you'll score on this component. So I recommend, if you want to keep this decent, I'd recommend looking to comment on 1 or 2 posts per weekday to feed the algorithm. I have not been doing that. So I have not been consistent with engaging with insights. When I log into LinkedIn, a lot of times I am very task oriented these days, and I have not been spending as much time as I should be commenting, engaging with other people's content in the feed. And that is due to a different type of schedule than I had 6 months ago, the last time I checked this. So, this is an area for me to definitely improve. It's reminding me, like, hey, Mindy, you are not doing as well as you think you're doing here. So, let's beef this up. All right, so building relationships. All right, you can see that one, it's high. Okay, so building relationships, this one seems to be a blend of the prior two components at first glance. Okay, but what it really is it's an amalgamation of how you're building relationships on LinkedIn. What does that mean? If you're messaging people who are credible in the industry and you're getting into two-way dialogue with other LinkedIn users and you're using the LinkedIn platform to nurture those relationships, LinkedIn gives you a very high score for this. So you can see, even though I haven't commented as much, I have not been sending as many LinkedIn connection invitations and as highly targeted as I was before. What you'll see here is I'm still building relationships though. So the people who I am connected with, the people I am talking with, we are going back and forth. That means my LinkedIn DMs are very active. Okay. So when you see that number very high, that means good job. You are doing all of the behind the scenes work, and that is necessary to make LinkedIn work for you to actually generate new business opportunities. Okay. So relationships. So when I look at this, I say, okay, let's look at this in totality. I'm doing well on my profile. My profile's good. All right. I need to change how I'm targeting. I need to think about the people I'm actually reaching out to and either find a better fit, find another angle, play with my messaging, play with my targeting. All right. And then engaging with insights. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. I need to be a little bit more active with other people's content. I have been liking and hitting the reaction button, but I have not been taking time to comment. I need to do that more. And then building relationships is like, okay, keep doing what you're doing. That seems to be working. So you can see how looking at that, when you understand those four components, you can see exactly what you need to do on LinkedIn to make LinkedIn work for you. It is really that simple. And this score is always updated. So put all of these components together. If you got 25, 25, 25, 425s, you would have a scale. On a scale of 1 to 100, you'd have a score of 100. So right now I'm at 77. I used to be in the 80s. So I can tell that my score has dropped. So this is a signal to me to change what I am doing on LinkedIn. So I haven't actually seen many people stay above 90. A couple of my clients have hit 90 for a very short period of time, but then they'll drop below it. But I do tend to see that my best performers hover in the 80s. So if you're in the 80s, you are killing it on LinkedIn. So good work. So my goal is to get back into the 80s. I think it was like 85 to 88, which I really like that range. It was good. I also noticed the conversations I was having on LinkedIn were a little bit better, was a little bit more engaged with my network. So that's where I need to go next. So now for the last two metrics here that you can see at the bottom. People in your team again. Okay, we saw this above. This is only relevant, like I said, if you are on that Sales Navigator team subscription and you want to see what your teammates' SSI scores are, which is kind of fun. People in your industry. So for those who like to play comparisons, you can actually see the average score of people in your industry. So LinkedIn pulls the industry and average scores of people in that industry, and that's what that number is. So you can see most people in my industry have a score of 38, and I have a score of 77, which is why I rank in the top 1%. All right, so if you use LinkedIn at all, you're likely going to be significantly higher. So just keep that in mind. Like, don't pat yourself on the shoulder too much, because if you actually check your SSI score, you're likely know a little bit about LinkedIn and you're going to be higher than most other people. All right, so last one, people in your network. So if you're curious what the average scores of people in your network are, this number is helpful to know how you measure against the connections in your network. So like we saw up above, I rank in the top 2%. So what type of score, what's the average score of people in my network? Average them all together, it's a 47, okay? So this is kind of fun. You kind of can see where people are. Are you right in the middle of the pack? Do you want to be higher? Does it really matter? It's all up to you. Some of us are a little more motivated by like how we rank against other people than others. So this is kind of fun. If you feel like you're doing well on LinkedIn, then just keep with what you're doing. Don't worry where you rank. If you're in the top 1 or 2%, it is just kind of nice to know from a benchmark standpoint what tends to be good overall. So there you have it. All of the elements to your social selling index score, what each of them means to you, and how you can make snap judgments when you are looking for a quick gauge that doesn't require in-depth analysis. So if you don't want to track all the other metrics and like impressions and how many comments you're getting on every single post, just look at your SSI score and it will give you excuse me, It will give you a gauge on where you stand. So, SSI scores can be a valuable tool for those who want to use LinkedIn well, but are not looking to embark on like a serious sales and marketing initiative where the numbers must directly tie to return on investment. If that's you, if you're like Mindy, I want to go deeper with my numbers. If you want to go deeper with your marketing numbers, Shield app, like a shield, shieldapp.ai is a really great source for understanding your engagement rates, your content, your posts, all of that stuff. You can dive in, slice and dice the data. It's a beautiful tool. I've done a live stream talking about, I think if you look up and just Google Mindi marketing metrics, you probably will see something related to shieldapp.ai that I did a video. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head though. If you want to go deeper with your other analytics, what you can do is just DM me because I have a super awesome spreadsheet that I am happy to share with you if you want the metric spreadsheet. So just DM me on LinkedIn, say, hey, Mindy, I watched your live. I want the super nerdy spreadsheet with all of the metrics because I actually have metrics related to conversion rate, connection rate, in all of that kind of stuff. So it's a cool tool, but only if you like nerdy spreadsheets. Otherwise, stick with the SSI tool. This tool is so cool, and you can get an idea of how well you're doing in 60 seconds. So if you're looking for that extra edge to get started on the right path with your profile, make sure that you sign up for the LinkedIn Accelerator. We are probably doing, crossing fingers, probably sometime over the summer is when the next cohort is going to happen. So make sure to get on the wait list because then you'll stay in the know. I also share like weekly content, live streams, tips and tricks, fun little downloadables and goodies throughout the year. So you'll definitely want to get on the wait list and stay tuned. All right, that's it for today. I will see you all next week on Mondays with Mindy. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and my inbox is open if you want to message me directly. All right, I will see you then. Have a good rest of the week. Bye for now.